For these questions, we're going to use division to find equivalent fractions. And remember, equivalent just means a fraction of equal value. We can do this by applying some other things that we already know. The first thing that we want to apply is our understanding of fact families. So we know that when you multiply, numbers are getting bigger, but when you divide, numbers are getting smaller. And you can do the same fact family, you just rearrange the numbers differently. We also need to understand that when you multiply a denominator to get a new denominator, you'll have equivalent fractions as long as what you do to the bottom, you do to the top in the numerator. So for these lessons, it's basically the same thing, except for you may have to think about it as division instead of multiplication. So on number 1, we're trying to find what our original fraction was before it was turned into an equivalent fraction. So here we have a numerator we don't know over 8 is going to equal 10 over 40. So let's look at number 1. We have some number of 8s is equivalent to 10/40. Well, if we look at this denominator 8, we can see it's been multiplied to get to 40. So 8 times 5 is 40, right? Well, what we do on the bottom, we have to do on the top as well. But this is where it gets difficult because you don't have the number here to multiply by 5. So what you can do is think about it backwards. We know that if we're going from the left to the right and we're multiplying by 5, that if we go backwards and go from the right to the left, we're doing the opposite. So if we go from the right to the left, instead of multiplying by 5, we can divide by 5, just using our fact family understanding. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. And if you go forward, 2 times 5 is 10. And that's why the fact family works. So 2/8 is equivalent to 10/40. So let's look at number 2. We can see by looking at the denominators that it went from 4 to 40. So it was multiplied by 10. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. But since our missing number is over here, we don't know what to multiply 10 by to get 30. So we can think about the fact family and do the opposite. Instead of doing something times 10 equals 30, we can do 30 divided by 10 equals something. And 30 divided by 10 is 3. So 3/4 is equal to 30/40. So on number 3, we see that we have 5 is being converted into 25. So it's going to be multiplied by 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. But we don't know what to multiply by 5 to get 15. So if we think about it backwards, we can figure it out. Instead of thinking something times 5 equals 15, let's think the opposite. 15 divided by 5 equals something. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. So 3/5 is equivalent to 15/25. So we'll do one more. On number 4, it's going from 6 to 42. So it's been multiplied by 7. And what we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. But instead of thinking about what times 7 equals 35, we can think about it differently. And we can think about 35 divided by 7 equals what? And 35 divided by 7 is 5. All right, you try some on your own, and if you need help, you can come back and rewatch the video. Good luck!